Welcome back, everybody. It's good to have you. Topic for today is, should you buy a house in 2022? Is now a good time? I know that's a question on a lot of people's minds. And if the answer, despite everything is going on, is yes, then the next question is, when is potentially the best time or the worst time to do so? That's the topic for today. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I had a few conversations with past clients about how the house is doing, and they told me they remembered they had the conversation with me about the seasonality of the housing market, but they said they did not really fully appreciate how big of an impact it had on their buying and on their selling experience. So that's the reason why I want to share some data with you. And let me tell you, when I know about this pattern, but when I pulled the data together for this video, I was a little bit shocked as well how strong that pattern actually is. So let me show you. So first of all, what is the ideal scenario that you need to have for a buyer? And bear with me here, there's a reason why I have these specific 3 points that will become clear in a second. So as a buyer, you want ideally, number one, a nice selection of houses to choose from, nice inventory. As you know, we have a national housing shortage, a Milwaukee housing shortage. We just haven't built enough homes for what's currently going on with demographic shift, a lot of millennials buying houses. And so we don't have enough. When you drive around, you see a little bit of new construction, not very much, mostly in the suburbs, and usually $600,000-$700,000. So we will be in this situation for the time being. So the question becomes, what time of the year do you have in this current market the best selection of inventory? The second thing is pricing. Of course, nobody wants to pay more than necessary, so we want a time period where prices are as low as possible. And then thirdly, we want the ability to negotiate, because you know the last few years it was a very competitive market. Multiple offers over asking were the norm, not the exception. So when do you potentially have the best possibility to negotiate? And the key here is that you need all of these 3 things to align and happen at the same time, because if you have only 1 or 2 of these, then you're still not in a great position to buy. So the first piece of data that I want to look into, and this is straight out of the Milwaukee MLS. So this is local data, and you have here 3 charts from the last years, all the way from 18 to 22. And you will notice that they go from July through June. So the blue part here in the middle, that is actually winter. And there's a reason why I've cut the timing this way. You can see that inventory is always hitting the low point here in the middle of the winter. So that's when you have the lowest inventory, and then from winter it starts on rising. And you have the highest inventory levels usually in spring, summer. So there is a big difference here. It cuts down here to about 1/3. And the numbers actually don't do it really justice, because not only you go down to 1/3 of the inventory, but a lot of that stuff that's actually out there is quite frankly junk that nobody wanted to have in the summer before. So it's leftover inventory. So the situation is actually a little bit worse than it looks here on the chart. The next piece we want to take a look at is the seasonality of home prices. So a lot of people always think home prices go up in a straight line. Not the case. We have a very strong seasonality here. The same pattern, you can see the low points on prices are always in the middle of the winter. And the difference can be huge. In this case, for this year, it was 33% from the median list price here in December all the way to when the market was peaking here in May. And so this is a little bit misleading, because that doesn't mean that you pay 33% more for the same house. This is the median price, and there's a lot more nicer properties that are coming on the market in spring, and many like not so nice properties in the winter, so that also influences that. So the actual price difference is not that high. We have seen, for example, in the Milwaukee area, price appreciation in the last 12 months of 12.5%. But that is also factoring in the quality of the inventory. This is why you see that huge difference here. It's not that bad in reality. But nonetheless, you have a strong seasonal pattern here. And then the last one to look at is the opportunity to negotiate. And the data I want to look at here is the sold to list ratio. So if you pay 100% of what the seller wanted, then it's obviously 100. If you had to pay 110%, which was the case oftentimes in 2022, 10% over asking was a thing, then you are up here. And you can see that how the sold to list ratio in spring actually went up. And then this is an average, we were over 104%. So that means there were a lot of deals that were 10, 15% over asking price to make it happen. So now it might start to make sense why I have these green boxes here, because they mark actually an exceptional time of the year, and that's what we have now. So let me put these three things together for you. So we have your inventory, prices, and opportunity to negotiate. This is just the last 12 months on all three charts. And you can see here the green box here is on a time period when inventory is still relatively good, around back to school time, September, October. So it's not the highest inventory that we have in the year, but it's still a relatively good time. So why would you choose this? Because prices are still relatively good. So you can see the difference between this time frame and then what usually happens in winter and then spring. You could say, okay, I'm going to buy in November and December. The problem is that you might just run out of a selection of houses and may not find what you're looking for. But if you find one, of course, December is always a good price. Same thing for negotiating. So the best time to negotiate would be here in the middle of the winter. But you can see that August, September, and October here have a very clear trend as your sold to list ratio is coming down. This is the reason why this data is so important. And if you have the luxury to control your timing, you should absolutely take advantage of this. So number one thing, the Milwaukee real estate market is very, very seasonal. This is super important for you as a buyer, also as a seller, because you can take advantage of that. So just to recap, the ideal situation for a buyer is when all the stars align. You don't need just a good real estate market. You need high inventory, you need low prices, and you need the opportunity to negotiate. Only when you have all of these three things, then you have your best shot in getting a really cool deal put together. And with that, September and October are really the single best 2 months in the year that you can do that. And that's not specifically for this year. This is a pattern that you can find going, I did the research, went all the way back to 2005. The pattern is always the same regardless what the market is doing. And so on the other hand, when you look at Q1 is really the most challenging time to buy. So, there's still deals being done in January and February, and we have a lot of clients that don't have that much control over the timing. They relocate to Milwaukee for a new job, and then we help them buy a house in January and February, and we always make it happen. We just have to dig a little deeper and negotiate a little bit smarter, and then we can pull it off. But if you have the luxury to actually plan your move, then Q1 is not the time when you want to buy a house. When you're a seller, totally different story. Then you're on the other side of that equation. So now if you're on the buying side and you've been thinking about buying a home, but you just didn't want to pull the trigger yet because something concerned you, let me know about specifically what your concerns are, because my YouTube channel is all about putting the data in front of you so you can make informed, intelligent decisions with the right data. So I would like to hear from you in the comment section below. Let me know what are your main concerns about the housing market, about inflation, about recession, about the economy, unemployment, whatever concerns you. I would like to know. I'll cluster it together, and the top responses that I get, I'll make videos specifically on those concerns, and I put the data in front of you. All right, last thing I have here is, if this video was helpful for you, or you have a friend who is thinking about buying a home but doesn't really know when, and you think this information would be helpful for him, then please share this video. It would help out my YouTube channel, and it would be great to help out your friend as well. Now, the other thing that might be helpful for you if you've been thinking about buying, we actually have a buyer's guide, which you can download from my website. You have the address here. It's onpointrg.com. You can download it for free. And it's not a fluffed up piece of clickbait, I'd like to add. I have here the table of contents, so you can see this. It's about 25 pages, and we try to cover really everything that is a question mark in your mind, that is something that you might be concerned with, or that you're not concerned with, but you should be thinking about here in this guide. So it goes all the way from the reasons why you buy a home this summer, to expert insights, what's going on in the market, to what are the reasons why people are buying homes. Is it still a good investment? Does it even still make sense? How are home prices doing in comparison to rent? That is very often a scenario where you're looking at rent prices going up every year, and you're thinking, well, what should I be doing here? So in this guide, you have the data. You can take a look at that, and then hopefully make an informed decision. In the end, you have some practical tips here as well, what you need to budget for when you're buying a house, things to avoid after applying for a mortgage so you're not shooting yourselves in the foot, and 5 tips for making your best offer. The other thing that you can also do on my website, if you're there, if you want to take a look and do some serious research, we can get you access to the local MLS. You can request it on my website, get me your email address, and I'm happy to set it up for you. I need some geographic information and some price range, but then we can create an access portal for you to the MLS so you can actually do some research and keep tabs on the market. Very good. That's all I had for you today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.